What's up, guys? This is Jay with Bearded Dad Fishing, and today we're talking about the 10 most common mistakes that kayak fishermen make when they're first starting out. But first, dad joke of the video. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet? Supplies! All right, guys, before we jump into it, I just want to say thank you for the continued support. I sincerely appreciate it. If this content has been helpful to you in any way, continue to share my channel, like the videos, comment on my videos, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Ring the little bell down below, and you'll be notified every time I drop a video. In addition to that, I've been getting more active on my socials. So I just started them a couple weeks ago, but on both Instagram and Facebook, you can look up Bearded Dad Fishing, and you can find me on there. And lastly, we have a Facebook group called Kayak Fishing Dads. And it's just a group of dudes that like to go fishing, that help each other grow, share some tips and knowledge and setups and everything else. So make sure you check it out. So let's jump into it. Mistake number one. I see this all the time. I was guilty of this. All right, when you first get your fishing kayak, buying too many mods too soon. All right, so that could be super easy because you're looking at all these YouTube videos. You're looking, before you even buy your kayak, you've probably seen like 100 hours of YouTube videos. You finally get it, and then now you're just looking at all the mods you could do. The milk crates, the lure organization, the drawers, the rod holders, the GoPro attachments, the extra rails, power poles. It's endless. All right, so the first mistake is just buying them too soon. It's not bad to have a ton of mods. It's not bad to really just deck out your kayak at all. The problem is when you're getting out on the water and you don't know what you like, you don't know if it's comfortable even, you don't know how much you're weighing it down. So the best thing to do is get out on the water, do 1 or 2 trips. They don't have to be super long, but I'll tell you exactly what you need to know about your kayak, what you like about it, what you hate about it, and what you want to change about it. So it'll save you money, and it'll save you the hassle of just putting stuff on there that at the end of the day, you might not even need. All right, guys, mistake number 2 is skimping on safety gear. Okay, that's the number one thing that you need to take with you over all your tackle, over your rods, over everything is your safety gear. Okay, and it's different for everybody. But the one thing that's not different is you need a PFD, all right? You need a life jacket or a personal flotation device in case you go overboard into the water, or if you go unconscious because a boat hits you. You need something to keep you up in the water so you don't drown, okay? Even if you're an amazing Olympic swimmer, get yourself a life jacket. That is the number one thing. There's tons of options. You can get a $10 used one on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, or you can go get a brand new fishing one that's $300. And that's fine, man, whatever works for you, but get a life jacket and wear it. Another thing that you want to have on you is a whistle at all times. Again, in case you go overboard, you could alert people around you that you're in distress, and you can blow your whistle, and it's gonna take a lot less energy to blow that whistle than it is to yell, all right? And not only that, it's gonna carry further. Another thing that you really want to look into is some lights. And not everybody needs lights on their kayaks, but if you're fishing early mornings, late at night, get yourself some lights. Some lights you can put on the outside, on the inside, definitely a 360 light. Railblazer has them, Yak Power, Yak Attack. They all have these 360 lights that have a nice orange, bright pole and a light on top. Just remember, you are the smallest, slowest, and lowest thing on the water when you're fishing out there on these lakes, okay? Everyone's faster than you, everyone's bigger than you, and everyone's higher than you. So it's very hard to see kayakers when they're out there. So we want to stay safe, okay? If you have the option to get a bright PFD, get a bright one. Get a nice orange or safety green or something. Anything reflective is great, and any lights. So make sure you don't skimp on your safety gear, because it can really come down to saving your life. And before we go to number 3, I am really interested in knowing what you guys have for safety gear on your kayak. So write in your comment below what you carry with you and what's a non-negotiable. What comes up with you on every single trip that's meant to keep you safe. Mistake number 3, killing your back. All right, if you just got a nice fishing kayak, don't cheap out on your transportation for that kayak. So your wheels, all right, whether you get the landing gear or you get the cart or whatever it is, don't cheap out on your cart. because you will come to regret it. You will hurt yourself. You'll do all types of things. These things are heavy, all right? My Old Town Sportsman it's a 12-foot kayak. It's 85 pounds butt naked. All right, once I throw everything on there, it's easily 170 pounds at the end of the day. Okay, and moving that without a proper system is gonna not only hurt my back, which means I'm not gonna fish as much or fish as good, it's gonna hurt the kayak if you're dragging it, if you're pushing it, if you're getting it twisted or whatever. So get a good pair of wheels. All right, this is the Wilderness System Kayak Cart. It's heavy duty, it's rated for 400 pounds. That might be overkill for what you have, but that's not the only thing on the market. The Sea Tug is another very well-known one. Malone makes some awesome kayak carts, but stay away from any cheapo carts on Amazon, because you can get like a $30 or $40 Amazon cart. But again, if I have an 85-pound kayak and that's naked on that thing, it's not gonna hold up well. Those things are made for like 40-pound kayaks. If you have a little sit on top or sit inside kayak that's 40 pounds, cool. You can make your own set of wheels. You can buy something cheap and it'll be just fine. But anything more than that, just don't skimp. You spend all this money on your setup and you're gonna be transporting this kayak. Sometimes you might be walking hundreds of yards to go launch somewhere. You want something that's gonna save your back in the long run. And the last thing I'll say about your wheels is if your kayak is not rated for scupper hole carts, don't use them. So for instance, Old Town specifically warns against this. Those carts are the ones that have the prongs basically that go into the scupper holes. Not all kayaks are made with reinforced scupper holes. So what's gonna happen is you put all that weight on two little prongs in these holes, it's gonna crack and you're gonna get water inside of the kayak, and even worse, you might void your warranty completely. Number 4, don't use ratchet straps. If you don't know what a ratchet strap is, this is a ratchet and the strap goes on the other side. When you're transporting your kayak, if you use ratchet straps, they are very easy to over tighten. All right, that's the good thing about them. They tighten easily. It's not so good for your plastic kayak, all right? If you ratchet this too tightly, you can easily break, crack, fracture the hull, all right? So especially if you're going through a scupper hole or another insert through your handles, anything, that can easily just pop out, all right? So you gotta remember, you're actually tightening against plastic that can pop, break, fracture, whatever. So don't use ratchet straps. There's a better system, and it is a cam strap. Right, so it's the same thing. It's a strap, but the bite on it is just a hand tightened strap, right? Or buckle, I should say. So these are very easy to use. They're user friendly. And most importantly, when you tighten them by hand as hard as you can. And that won't be hard enough to break this kayak unless you're Hulk Hogan or Schwarzenegger, but it sticks, all right? I just tightened that real quick, and I can't pull this at all. A lot of them are rated for 250 pounds or more, and if you're using 2 or 3 of them or 4 of them on your kayak, that thing's not going anywhere, all right? So definitely use cam straps and ditch the ratchet straps. Trust me. All right, guys, mistake number 5 that I see all the time is improper storage of your kayak. So when you're not using your kayak and it's being stored, make sure you're properly putting it where it needs to be put, upside down, whatever the manufacturer recommends for storage of your kayak. Make sure you guys follow it to the T. All right, so especially if you're keeping your kayak outside and it's exposed to the heat or freezing temperatures, all right, it's really important to keep your kayak covered with a tarp, covered in the shade, because the sun will beat it up, break it down, make it brittle, and you don't want that. And as well as from freezing water, if this water collects in your cup holder, in your drive hole, or wherever, and once it freezes, it expands, it'll break your hole like that. So make sure you're keeping it as best you can dry and out of the sun, and per the manufacturer's recommendations. Okay, so this is how I store my kayak when I'm not using it. I actually built this little table / bench with my dad. So It's connected to it's attached to the wall, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 supports on the kayak. So it's being well supported. It's not just 2 supports and all the weights hanging down on that. Because again, 85 pounds on this thing, and that's naked without the chair and the rods that I got inside and everything else. So if you want your kayak to last for a long time, make sure you store it properly. All right, mistake number 6 is not knowing your headspace. What do I mean by that? Is when you're out on the water, you have these nice, expensive, beautiful rods sticking out of your tackle box. You have them sticking out of your rod holder straight up in the air, 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet in the air, and you go under some low-hanging trees, and boom, before you know it, you got caught up in a tree, your rods went over into the lake, whatever. Okay, so always be aware of your headspace and your surroundings. You know, you are really low to the water, but you got these sticks, these rods just shooting up out of your kayak, and it's very easy to get hung up in some trees, especially when you're trying to get a lure out from a bush or a branch or whatever. So keep an eye on your surroundings and know what's above you so you don't lose a very nice, expensive setup. All right, we're on number 7, and this one is good, okay? We're getting towards the end, but number 7 is get yourself a repair kit. All right, if you are out on the water, especially if you have a pedal kayak or a powered kayak or anything with batteries or whatever, you need a repair kit so you don't get stuck on the water. All right, it can happen. Your prop can break, your shear pin can come off, you know, you lose some, whatever. All right, this is super simple, easy, and convenient to carry with you. I always keep it in my tackle box along with all my lures. You know, it's the same size as a 3600 tackle box. And this one came from Old Town when I bought my kayak, but if yours didn't come with one, again, it's just a single compartment 3600 Plano box. And what I got in here is some electrical tape in case I need to tape something down, some zip ties. Very important to have zip ties because they can temporarily fix almost anything, especially when you pair it with some tape. Screwdriver, because you never know if something needs to get tightened down, you know, a rail or an attachment or accessory. Almost always a screwdriver can fix that issue. All right, some more zip ties, small ones for small problems. All right, little wrench, and this actually fits on my drive, so I tested it first. And I also have a couple nuts that fit that. You don't really need the nuts, but I have it in there already. So a little wrench. And what I did is Old Town has these knobs, these drive knobs, and they're basically made to break if I hit a log or a rock or something. So I keep an extra one with me just in case that happens, as well as an extra prop, which I keep in my front hatch. Okay, so if I'm out there in the water and I break it on the log, I don't gotta sweat it. I have all the tools to just replace it really quickly. I also keep some shear pins in here. I have 2 shear pins because those can break on a pedal drive, and some Loctite. You can have some super glue with you as well, just in case. You just don't want to get caught out in the water with some issues that are definitely avoidable. So have yourself a repair kit so you can fix your problem on the water and get out of there. All right, guys, we're rounding out the list here with number 8. Before we get to that, just remember to follow me on my socials. I put them in the links below, Facebook and Instagram, at Bearded Dad Fishing, okay? So number 8 is a first aid kit, all right? You're out on the water, stuff happens, you usually have bad cell phone signal, or you're far from home, you're far from your car, whatever. Just have a first aid kit with you. Okay, this is my first aid kit. It's not super duper complicated. I got some different types and sizes of Band-Aids. I have some antibiotic ointment, some hydrocortisone cream, some liquid Band-Aid here, right? In case you get cut or whatever, like you get cut and hooked and poked all the time. So you just want to cover that up so you don't get an infection and so you can keep out on the water. On the worst cases that you actually get like hooked past the barb, then this stuff, you'll be thankful to have it. It'll just make your experience better while you're out there, okay? And in addition to that is have a pair of like hook cutters. All right, so these little guys right here come with me too, and they'll cut line, they'll cut other stuff, but if you get hooked, this can easily cut your split ring or cut the trebles off, so that way you can do whatever you got to do, get to the water, get the fish off the hook if he's still on there, and it'll make your time more enjoyable on the water just by having a simple first aid kit like this. If you want to go a little bit further, you can take a trauma kit with you too, something with a tourniquet, some chest seals, compression seals, gauze, all that stuff. I don't really take that on the water with me, but I always have that in the truck with me because you never know and you got to be safe. But first aid kit is a must. All right, guys, we're getting close to the end. Number 9 is not having a rod float or some leashes with you on your kayak. All right, some of us have expensive rod setups and we still keep them naked on the water. All right, all of my rods have these rod floats. They're super cheap. I'm gonna put a link in the description below to some of this stuff. All right, but these rod floats come in a pack of 3 and they're like $10, $12, something like that. And they help your rod float if it goes into the water, if it's dropped, and if we're not watching our headspace, right, like number 6, and our rods get pulled up into the water by some trees or some branches, this will help it float so you're not having to dive down or fish, pun intended, for your rods. Okay, the other option instead of a rod float are some leashes. I started out having these leashes for my rods, but they're quite annoying to have to buckle and unbuckle them every single time I want to grab my rods. So I went to the floats instead, but I still use this for certain items. So I use it for my catch board. I have it on the end of my catch board and it's attached to my seat. So I just pull it out and I have the catch board in front of me for my fish. I also use it for my GoPro case. So in case the case goes overboard, it won't sink or whatever. I can just grab it up real quick. So these leashes can be found online on Amazon, Bass Pro, whatever. They're very cheap. They don't have to be anything fancy, but make sure you get yourself some rod floats for your rods and some leashes for anything else you don't want to lose. All right, guys, we're at number 10, last one. All right, so my final mistake that I see happen to a lot of people starting out with kayak fishing, and that I've done a ton, is that they don't check the weather and the wind reports when they go out on the water. Okay, so it's a beautiful day, the sun might be out, there's not a breeze in the sky, but as soon as you get out on the water, things can turn like that, especially if you're on some big water. Okay, so make sure you check out the weather reports, and this sounds like a dummy thing, but it's so easy to forget. I still forget at times. Okay, but the weather report will let you know what's coming up in your area, because the weather could change quickly, especially on these hot, humid days, down south, whatever. And check your wind reports. So you could check windy.com, windfinder.com, like all those websites, and there's some other ones, just Google them, and they'll let you know what it's looking like. So when you get out on the water, you know if you're contending with 5-mile-an-hour winds or 20-mile-an-hour winds, because that will make a big difference on A, whether you go fishing, and B, if you go fishing, how you're gonna fish, and whether you're gonna bring an anchor with you, because it will change things up and make things dicey, in some cases unsafe. So that's my 10 top mistakes that I see kayak fishermen make when they're starting out. All right, I've made a lot of these. So if you make some of these mistakes, if you made them, if you still make them, don't take it too hard on yourself. But just keep it in mind that these mistakes are easily avoidable, and it'll help you keep safe on the water, and they help you make your time more enjoyable out there. All right, guys, so if you found this helpful, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share this video. And you'll see me next time. Peace and God bless.